Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Devcon. We are thrilled to have everybody here with us today. As Anurag mentioned, we've got an action-packed couple of days planned, full of product launches, full of sessions where you'll hear from builders who are going to share what they've built and deployed into production.
Palantir just revealed something huge at Devcon. This changes everything. Check this video out.
You're going to have demo sessions, you're going to have build sessions, all sorts of stuff. It's also worth pointing out we've got a lot of Palantirians here, basically representatives from every single development team. So please, connect with them. That's a big part of this. We've also got plenty of swag, and I've been assured plenty of caffeine. So, as Anurag said, the first DevCon was back in November. And if I think back to 3 months ago, way back to 3 months ago, we had a lot of great content, right? We had product launches, we had all sorts of sessions, we had all sorts of builder-led initiatives and activities, the hackathon as well. What really stands out the most is the builder-to-builder interactions that happened. The unstructured time, where you guys were able to connect with each other and also able to jam with Palantir engineers. And this is giving us the unvarnished takes on what's working, what isn't working, trying the bleeding edge new features that in many cases were released just a couple of hours beforehand, and in many cases hacking late into the night. And at least for me, it really kind of crystallized this sense that we're all part of a shared mission. And we talk a lot about mission at Palantir, right? And that goes back to the earliest of days in our work in counterterrorism and defense, which remains core to what we do, of course.
Palantir isn't just building software, it's building a movement. From national security to cutting-edge AI, this is a company that understands the weight of its role in shaping the future. The late-night hacking sessions and direct collaboration with engineers aren't just for show. They're a testament to a culture of relentless problem-solving. That's what makes Palantir more than just another tech firm.
But I think it's actually a much broader mission now. And it encompasses kind of these twin pillars of freedom and prosperity. So it's everything from nurse scheduling to automotive manufacturing to insurance underwriting to retail operations to people who are building the next generation of the industrial base on top of the platforms and so much more. And beyond just the domains, it's also an approach to solving these problems. It's a radical orientation around the outcome and having the faith to say we're going to treat the operational outcome as the most important thing and work backwards from that continuously, kind of like through the human equivalent of backpropagation. And along the way, you'll figure out what to build, you'll figure out what's working, what isn't working, you'll be able to calibrate kind of what your roadmap is. And if you're in this room, you're probably doing that to some extent, right? For your enterprises, for your customers, for your partners. And this is what forward deployed engineering is. And it actually remains a pretty unconventional way of doing things here in Silicon Valley and also broadly in the world of tech, where the classic playbook is build the most minimum of minimum viable products and then just focus on sales and distribution. And so while you might build something interesting, like really just get back to focusing on EBITDA and net dollar retention. And if you happen to make a difference in the world along the way, okay, but that's a byproduct. And that is not the reality of the people in this room, right? And as we think about the AI revolution now that's unfolding, as Anurag said, we're about 2 years into it. What's interesting is that this philosophical divide seems to have deepened, where I don't need to tell anybody here about the endless deluge of thin wrappers on models and repackaged SaaS services that are still just borrowing from the same software industrial complex playbook, right? And if you're a consumer or an enterprise on the receiving end of all of that, it just kind of all washes over you, right? It's like there's a whole bunch of stuff to look at every week, take it or leave it. It kind of amounts to a free option. And it's like if you don't like what's on the menu this week, there'll be something new, slightly repackaged soon. And that whole reality, again, is not the reality of the people in this room, right? Who are working to try to drive AI and automation into core functions and are walking the inductive path of trying to build end-to-end experiences that have to contend with the complexities of the real world and have to, in oftentimes be deployed into mission-critical contexts.
Most AI solutions today are surface-level, repackaged models with minimal real-world application. Palantir's philosophy is fundamentally different. AI must be embedded in critical operations, solving complex, high-stakes problems. That's why forward-deployed engineering remains at the core of its success. It ensures AI isn't just another product, but an operational necessity.
And what we're really talking about here is the need to build and deliver full-fledged AI products, right? Not thin wrappers or simple solutions. Products that can be used to drive things like clear-to-build workflows, that can be used to power the distribution of assets across a logistics network, that could be used to personalize customer recommendations across tens of thousands of locations. Products that have to, in essence, surface the full complexity of data, logic, and action, and then allow you to enrich those primitives through all the different types of mobile applications, web applications, edge applications, and more that you want to build and have to build for your stakeholders while being connected back to a common model of the enterprise. So if we think about what it means, like what does it take to build capital P AI products? Well, if we kind of think about the requirements for the underlying tech stack, they start to seem pretty different from the traditional three-tier architectures or cloud-native architectures, right? For one, if I think about the infrastructure layer, it's a lot more than just kind of standard elastic compute and storage. It's like I need a hardened auto-scaling stack that can actually enforce node cycling to protect us against advanced persistent threats, enable zero downtime upgrades, enable zero trust networking, give us pervasive auditing and monitoring frameworks, and a whole lot more. That has to then link into a security architecture that governs all AI and human activity. So these are role-based access controls, of course, but also marking-based controls that can flow with information, and purpose-based controls that can provide conditional access and revoke them. I also need then a full-spectrum data integration engine to be able to connect to hundreds of different data sources, whether structured, unstructured, streaming, geospatial, all of it, and be able to actually integrate and transform it at scale using batch and streaming processing. I need to be able to pick the runtimes I want to use, while all adhering to a common set of health monitoring, security services, lineage services, metadata services. All of that has to work in concert with our model integration framework, right? And that's both conventional models that I'm building, maybe in my data science environments, and these are optimizers, business rules, algorithms that I might want to deploy in as containers, or might want to connect with via APIs, but that's also the LLM integrations. So how do I connect securely to the full range of commercial model providers and open model providers we want to use? All of that, of course, then has to be surfaced in the workbenches where we build our LLM-driven functions, we build our agents, we define our processes consisting of objects, links, actions, and functions. We need the entire eval suite and so much more, essentially every component that will go into our products.
Palantir's AI strategy isn't just about deploying models. It's about building an entire ecosystem that ensures security, reliability, and operational efficiency at scale. From hardened infrastructure to purpose-based access controls, every layer is designed to integrate seamlessly while maintaining enterprise-grade security.
And then, of course, at the toolchain level, I need a flexible toolchain that allows me to build the way I want to build. So maybe I want to use the package SDKs, maybe I want to use just the raw scoped APIs, maybe I want to mix and match these things and then use a templated builder that gives me quicker time to value. And the requirements just kind of run off the page, right? And even with this view, though, it's still kind of fundamentally misrepresentative, because it's not about a fixed set of requirements at a single point in time. It's about how these requirements can actually flex over time. Because as we're seeing with AI-driven product development, it's all about the iteration speed. Cycle time is king. And so what happens when I add 12 additional data sources? What happens when I need to swap out my LLM? How about when I change my entire front-end framework? Or I 10x the amount of users on our products? What if I do all of those things in 2 days? Does this thing still hold up? That's the real test of an architecture. And what it all points to is this need for leverage, right? That can meet the ambition of the builders in this room. Leverage at the platform level that can actually scale with time and maybe increase over time as you iterate on the operational experience of your products and as you increase the surface area of what's being automated. And it's this relentless hunger for more and more leverage that drives our roadmaps for our platforms. And we know that means but is not limited to, the need to give you more options for integrating data from more sources and building context into every AI-driven workflow and process you're building, regardless of the type of data or the substrate that's coming from. That means providing builders with the ability to integrate more sources of logic, the business rules, the algorithms, the other things that are not just reasoning capabilities for human workflows, but also tools for LLMs increasingly. It means the ability to define more sophisticated action and being able to chain these actions together and being able to also invoke more complex behaviors outside of the four walls of your product. It, of course, means having the freedom to mix and match from the latest generation of LLMs, but also it means having a more robust evaluation suite and set of capabilities to continuously assess at runtime how these models are actually performing so you can pick the right models for the right workflows. And of course, it means having more ways of integrating human knowledge, both so you can understand the flows of the processes you're trying to automate, and then as you drive automation, being able to assess and calibrate the nature of that automation over time. And many of these considerations coalesce in the ontology system, which sits at the heart of the Palantir architecture. And I'd just like to note that I made it 19 slides into this presentation without saying ontology. And so that is a personal record. But I think everybody here has a riff on the ontology, right? And probably has a way they describe it to people who they're talking to or they work with. And I'm actually excited to hear those riffs throughout the next couple of days. My version right now, simply put, my riff is the ontology has to provide maximal leverage for builders who are delivering AI products. And that means two things specifically. One is the ontology has to allow you to smoothly increase the amount of automation in your products over time.
At the core of Palantir's architecture is leverage that grows over time as AI automation expands. By providing seamless data integration, scalable logic layers, and real-time evaluation tools, Palantir enables builders to iterate faster and drive meaningful automation at an unprecedented scale.
And the way it has to do this is by providing a shared model of decision-making between humans and AI. And what does that mean? That means we're representing the semantics, of course, such as the objects and the links, but also the kinetics of a process, the actions, the functions, the process definitions, and giving you the dynamics, the actual simulation and branching capabilities to evolve things over time. So you actually can have a shared playing field for what it means to do an underwriting workflow or what it means to do nurse scheduling. And then you can calibrate over time how to find the balance in what is automated to what degree. And I think that one thing that we're seeing in the field is the better representation, the higher fidelity the ontology is as a representation of your operational world, the smoother that curve is. The second point is the ontology has to drive down the marginal cost of product delivery over time. And so this means that as you assemble all the different components to build your first product, you should be building a reusable inventory that gives you more speed and leverage as you build your second product or as you build more sophisticated things. And sort of that key and that momentum principle is kind of central to how we think about building the ontology system. And a lot of the just clear intent of this is to invert the physics and the incentives of the software industrial complex and all the legacy architectures of yore, where it's really meant to be parasitic and extractive versus providing more leverage over time. So if we think about the ontology, zoom in a little bit, we have the ontology and application tool chains, which sit over both platforms, Foundry and AIP, right? Of course, Foundry gives us all the tools for building, integrating data pipelines, for being able to build conventional models, for being able to manage our ontology, for being able to manage the entire lifecycle of our use cases, and much more. And AIP gives us everything for building with generative AI, right? From LLM-driven functions to agent building to being able to define the state machines we then automate to all the eval frameworks and a whole lot more. Both of these platforms, which you forge with, sit on top of a set of back-end services, right?
The power of Palantir's ontology lies in its ability to refine decision-making between AI and humans over time. By structuring both semantics and kinetics into a unified system, it enables businesses to fine-tune automation, ensuring AI-driven processes are both efficient and continuously improving.
We kind of think about these as the backbone of the operating system. These are the ontology kind of core services that give you all of the expressiveness of the language, but also the engine that allows you to query billions of objects and take tens of thousands of actions. That's substantiated by a set of data services that provide foundational connectivity and the metadata flows for everything happening around the data flows. The AI infrastructure that pertains to both conventional and LLMs and generative AI. The workflow services that allow you to run interactive compute, batch compute, streaming compute in all modes heterogeneously across all your workflows. All of that is, of course, underpinned by a common security and governance layer, and of course, in a box that I think is a little misrepresentative in size is the software delivery layer, which really revolves around Palantir Apollo and providing you all those guarantees at the infrastructure level. So just to close out here, over the next 2 days, you're going to see product launches, you're going to see improvements that touch all parts of this stack. And specifically, you're going to see launches that include being able to drive more sophisticated automation and chain this throughout the products that you're building. You're going to see really cool new ways of building ontology-driven agents. You're going to see new features in the OSDK. You're going to see what we call as the unchaining of storage and compute to remove some of those hard distinctions that have historically existed between transforming or using data, quote unquote, inside the Palantir platforms versus in existing data platforms or other compute facilities you have. We're going to see some really cool work at the edge about how you can embed the ontology and actually go offline for partially connected workflows. We're going to see, I think, a really interesting nexus of change management and release management, which comes together really as DevOps for AI products. And that's just a taste of what you're going to see over the next couple of days. So again, thank you guys for joining us. There's a ton to jump into here, so let's get started. Thanks.
From next-level automation to breakthrough integrations, Palantir is pushing AI beyond its traditional boundaries. Our latest innovations allow builders to seamlessly connect to a wider range of data sources, integrate AI-driven decision-making at every level, and deploy solutions that operate both online and offline. With enhancements to the OSDK, major advancements in AI-powered workflows, and a new approach to DevOps for AI, we are enabling businesses to iterate, scale, and optimize with unmatched speed. Over the next 2 days, we will showcase the cutting-edge technology that makes all of this possible, ushering in a new era of AI-powered transformation.